Welcome to the Language Kitchen podcast. And today my guest is Jeremy Lanig. Am I saying that correctly?
That is right.
But I noticed that you also have is like Jeremiah Lanzig. So I was a little confused.
Yeah, it is confusing.
What's going on there?
I don't know. I guess I was just trying to. I don't know. When I signed up for Facebook, keep a little bit of privacy. Fake name, but it's actually turned out that now everyone calls me by my fake name because Facebook has that much of an impact on kind of our social networking.
That's more powerful, and so much for privacy or whatever that is.
Yeah, just to see who really knows who I am.
Yeah. It's just
my mom still remembers my name, which is good.
So let me see here. I usually start on my show because we're all like people are mostly foreigners living in Japan. I've been here 10 years. How long have you been here?
I got here in August 2006, so that's probably 12 years now.
And I always love saying, okay, before Japan, what was life before then? What were you doing that got you to initially come to Japan?
Yeah, it was really random, my decision to come to Japan. Before coming, I was doing my master's degree in Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin in Madison.
Oh, yeah! I love Madison. That's a great biking town. I was there, gosh, it was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, like on a road trip, and I was just like, this is a great college scene. I wish I was 22 again. But I was just like, that's an awesome... You ever been to, there's a place called, I don't know if you were there, but it was called the Old Fashioned. It was celebrating Polish food, just Wisconsin. I'm from Indiana.
Okay.
So
we're not far off then, yeah.
Yeah. So, I love that place. Is like, it's like, it's all very conservative around in the Midwest. And then I just remember, like, I got to Madison, and I was like, where am I? I felt like I was it was just an anomaly. So you were studying mathematics there?
Yeah, definitely. So I was there. I grew up in Oregon, and I grew up in Eugene, so it's the Eugene area. So it's not actually far, culture-wise to go from Eugene to Madison. Yeah. So I was happy to go there as well. And yeah, I was also into the biking scene. A lot of bike messengers there, and I got into like fixies and but so yeah, I finished my master's degree. I was in a PhD program and just kind of midway like realized, this isn't what I want to do. I don't want to be a professor. I don't want to, do research. I think I'd be pretty much overqualified for anything I did if I got a PhD. So just figured get a master's and then move on. Graduated and couldn't really decide what to do next. So I asked a buddy, hey, you want to take a little vacation, go somewhere? And so we started thinking about, where do we have a friend in the world that we can go visit? And turns out friend Selena was living in Tokyo. She's half Japanese, and we thought, hey, let's go to Japan. Super random on a whim. And before coming over, I didn't know anything about Japanese culture. I didn't know any Japanese language. I didn't read manga. I didn't know any anime. I knew a few words: Nintendo, Ninja, Sushi. That's about it. Came over. It's kind of floored. Like Tokyo is just intense. And then she's like, you should go visit, some friends in Osaka, and went to Osaka, and I was like, dang, like just so many people and so much concrete and lights, and it wasn't really my thing, growing up in Oregon. I kind of like the countryside and, nature. But then we visited a mutual friend down in Kagawa on Shikoku, and I really enjoyed Kagawa. So I thought, hey, everyone I met there, they just started teaching English. I thought that might be a cool thing to do for a year or two until I decide what to do next.
A year or two, yes. I was kind of the same thing. I'll just be here a year, and then it's like meet a wife, get a wife, have a kid, like start a business.
No, I mean I was the wife and business came pretty like 5 or 6 years. I got the business 5 or 6 years into it, and then just recently got married. So, but kind of maybe a non-traditional route. But yeah, I came over, and the more, I had to learn Japanese because I was in the countryside and nobody spoke English in my town of 5,000. So I picked up Japanese, the local dialect, and, the more I started, digging into the culture and meeting people and building a community, like just the more it was like a cool place to be.
Yeah, it seems like the longer you stay, the harder it is to leave because you know you get settled, you make connections, and you just get used to things. Have you been? I'm sure you've been back to the U.S. Like that first time and everything. Was there like big reverse culture shock, or how long had it been since you had gone back after being in Japan the
I
first time?
think, yeah, the first time I went back to visit my family in Oregon was, I think, 3 years into it. And yeah, there was a lot
Same.
of, a lot of, yeah, I guess kind of, things I'd forgot or, bad habits I'd picked up,
Mhm.
like slurping noodles and holding my plate and saying necktie and bowing when you're
Yeah, I find myself constantly like, why are you bowing? You
at the
know, and
cash register. And
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah.
But I was happy to go back, and remember things like people just start a conversation with you at the supermarket and like, how you doing today? What are you doing? And I was like, what? Why are you asking me these questions?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
weird.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You
It's just
forget.
strangers being friendly or just yeah, starting conversations and
Yeah,
everything. It's
and it's not to say that people aren't friendly in Japan. It's just the differences in culture.
mhm.
So I found that like kind of refreshing. But then on the other hand, like customer service, you go to a gas station and the guy's like, you can't take this credit card here, and just get pissed off. It's like, dang, like, all right, so
So, when I guess, and then so then, what started? Were you teaching like in an ALT job? That's one thing I think a lot of us get here. Like before you started your own, what did you see that made you want to start your business? What were you doing before for money? In Japan before you had your own business.
yeah. So the first time I visited a bunch of kids they just got here on their first year of JET. So they're on the JET program. And they said, it's a good program. It's kind of a long application process, but if you get on, then they do your airfare, your
It's the
rent.
sweetest deal.
And
Yeah,
I was like,
sweetest
I
deal.
love gravy train. Like just coming off of a, full paid, graduate fellowship and stuff. I was like,
Sure, sure,
the most money, least work. I'm there.
sure.
So I guess having a master's degree is kind of a foot in, is what they said. Like it's kind of, I think most of the JET applicants or participants have an undergraduate degree. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. So I came back on JET, and I had a lot of issues coming over.
Oh, such
My
as.
my first year, like just the culture, not culture shock, and that like I wasn't shocked by Japanese culture, but I think they were shocked by me.
Uh-huh.
And I have a lot of tattoos, and I didn't know anything about like culture of tattoos in Japan. Just I didn't know anything about working in a professional environment. I'd been a student my whole life, and just
Hmm.
a lot of things that I was kind of oblivious. I should have done my homework a little better, but so we had a rough first year, and things got a little bit smoother. But by the end of the third year, I was just like, I can't do the ALT thing anymore. Just
Hmm.
I didn't really feel like I was making an impact,
Hmm.
and I wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't having fun. So
Hmm.
turns out the JET program, you can be an ALT or you can be a CIR,
CIR, yeah, yeah.
right? So it's a coordinator for international relations. I guess they use more Japanese,
Hmm.
do more event planning and translation and stuff. And at that point, I was like, my Japanese, I worked pretty hard, and I thought maybe I'll try to, transfer to the CIR position, and
Hmm.
I got it. So the last 2 years of JET, I was a CIR, and that really like that was a lot of work. I was really underqualified or just unprepared. My Japanese wasn't nearly as good as it needed to be, but I got a lot of connections. My Japanese improved, and long story short, the JET program you can do 5 years, and then they cut off the gravy.
Mm.
So and the timing worked out so that I still had 2 years left of my visa.
Hmm.
And back then they weren't super strict about like once you quit, maybe they were, but I didn't know. Uh,
Like
you
you
don't.
mean like getting your free plane ticket back, thing.
Well, I was willing to forfeit that, but
Uh-huh.
once you finish a job, you're supposed to go to the immigration office and tell them I've quit this job, and then
Oh
like, okay, well now you're gonna have to switch your status to tourist if you don't have another job lined up. But I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll just wing it for a couple of years. And somehow they gave me unemployment insurance for 6 months. So I was like, just trying to find.
Nice.
I mean, I paid my taxes.
Yeah. No, you pay your taxes, so you qualify. But like talking about like so gravy train. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hey, work the system. I'm not even work the system. It's just these are my benefits. In academia, in this program. That's cool. Hey, that's good.
I just went to the right offices and did what they told me to do. And
And the guy working that day was in a good mood. His wife didn't piss him off or anything like that. So he was very. That's awesome.
so when you're on unemployment in Japan, you got to go to Hello Work every couple of weeks or something, check in, look for jobs. And so I was like, yeah, I speak Japanese a little bit. I have a master's in math. I worked in the Kensho, in the government offices. I seem qualified for something, and just like nothing, I couldn't hit anything at Hello Work.
Really? So is Hello Work, is that a government unemployment what is Hello Work? I mean,
That's exactly what it is. It's the government funded, or it's just an unemployment office.
There's a job board. I mean, I'm imagining, this is dating me here, but it's like, like a big bulletin board with a bunch of posts for jobs available, or is it, it's online?
Yeah, they're online. It's a pretty outdated like database, but still you can go in, you put in your search, terms, what salary and conditions that you're willing to work for, and then a bunch of jobs pop up, and obviously like something teaching English would be in my best interest. And something at that time was like, I can't remember if it was Nova or Geos, but I was like, well, that should be an easy in. And I applied, and they're like, sorry, you're not Japanese. So I guess it was, they have a distinction between their native teachers, or their native speaking teachers, and their native Japanese teachers. And if you're not one or the other, you can't qualify for the the opposite. And I don't know, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I got really irritated. I was like, screw it, I'm not gonna look for any more jobs. And the place I was living, because on JET, they also supplement your income, right? So you get the housing subsidy. So once JET finished, I was out of a place to live. So I was kind of living in this really unique building. It's in Japanese, it's besso.
Does that mean condemned? What are you talking about?
No, besso is.
When you say unique, I'm just like.
Well, so what this is a corporation, basically. I guess a lot of times they want to, burn up money to save on taxes or whatever. They'll build like a getaway, like luxury resort in another prefecture or something. And so basically it's this building. It's like a hotel. It had a tennis court, has a jacuzzi on the second floor, had a pool table, like a bar. Anyways, really weird place. And this Japanese guy, he bought the building with the intent of creating this English village and an eikaiwa. And anyway, so he was also renting out the rooms to anyone who wanted to live there. So I was getting cheap rent, and the teacher before me just kind of, I don't know, he lost a lot of students, and eventually the owner is like, I'm done with this. If you want to live here, you got to continue this school on your own, and rent the whole building, and I'll recommend all my students to you. And at that point, I never thought like, hey, I'm gonna start my own school, but it just kind of fell into my lap, and I didn't have a job, and employment was running out. So yeah, that's how it happened. It's kind of like my decision to come to Japan was random. My decision to start the business was just kind of presented itself. So that's kind of how I live my life now. I figure like rather than trying to set goals and achieve them, I find that I'm better at like looking at opportunities that present themselves and making the best of those, or
So just be open to the universe, and then when luck falls in your lap, capitalize on it, but make your own luck too. But yeah, that's an amazing story. I mean, So you're in the Besso right now.
Well, actually, that building was great for 5 years. I mean, we built. I started the school was there, but it wasn't really ideal for an English school. Like it was just, you could tell like somebody was running an English school in this weird building. So actually, after 6 years, we finally moved to a proper location, built that up from scratch, and I had to move out. So. I got a different apartment, and then this year I built up my studio. So I do a lot of music, a lot of video, and I want to have all my, I guess, equipment easily accessible.
Cool. What was that? I guess let's look go back here to the that first year of the Besso. I'm just trying to think. What were you, what were some of your challenges? What were you, what were you trying to do? Since the rent was cheap, you had, hey, there's a business, whether it's being profitable or not, but it's being handed to you. And then, so how did you run with it? What were you like? What are some big milestones you remember? Just that, for first year especially. That's the toughest thing I think for people. I'm always saying is like, hey, any business you want to start, if you want to start an ACAI, I was like, just survive, and then survive your second year, and so and then the way I look at it's like, my wife and I've been doing ours for like 5 years. We have 2 locations now, but it doesn't really feel like success, because you're constantly putting money back into the business, and it just feels like survival. But but when I sit and look at it, it's like, oh yeah, I've got I got 2 locations. I have part-time employees. We're looking at a third. I'm trying to open up a third. Yeah, just share your first year survival strategies or story.
Yeah, so my experience with business was absolutely zero at that point. I had sold a few things on eBay, was the extent of my business knowledge. But yeah, so I knew that I was kind of inexperienced in running a business and also teaching eikaiwa. Eikaiwa was a lot different than ALT, teaching in junior high school. So I thought, I'll put I've got a lot of resources. I've got, the Japanese under my belt. So I'm going to try and recruit some friends with a little more experience, and we can kind of pool our knowledge and see how that goes. And that was a really good decision. A friend of mine, she's Japanese. She had experience working as a manager at an eikaiwa school. So I asked her to come work part-time whenever we had a trial lesson or had to, interact with customers, have her come. Even though I can speak Japanese, I think it's much better to have a Japanese person deal with it, just because of the culture. And if there's a problem, it's better to have the teachers be in charge of teaching. I thought, I could hire another teacher as well, even though we only had 30 students. But so I asked another friend who I met from the JET program. He had quit the JET program after 2 years and moved to Matsuyama. He was working in an eikaiwa there. But I was like, hey, I'm going to do this, this project. You want to come help out? And he was down. So we had a team of 3 people. And that was probably one of the most important factors in getting us up and running to the point we are now. So, but yeah, I mean, I had to learn a lot of things as I went. Everything like we did in the first year, if I tried to do it now, I think that was terrible. Like, we did this wrong, but a lot of it.
But that's how you learn. I think sometimes it's, you have to make, but they don't even seem like mistakes. You're just trying stuff out. You look back at it now, and it's like, oh yeah, you wouldn't do it the same way.
Yeah,
but I think that's the learning curve for any entrepreneur.
Sure.
Even if you had a manual that's like, with all the steps, you got to making mistakes is part of the process. And that's what I say to my kids too, my students. It's like, this is a place you can make mistakes. We make lots of mistakes here. Was this already the step-by-step English? Was that already the name, or have you had different iterations of Bingo Bongo? But is that just
it's our resources? Yeah, that's our
resources. So what's
the school before us had a different name. We took over, and we just right away I thought, this is my kind of teaching philosophy, or my not so much teaching philosophy, but learning philosophy. Like, if you want to learn something, you have to do it, slowly, carefully, and do it correctly. So do it step by step. And it's kind of a generic name in terms of, I guess, businesses come. But I'm really happy with the decision now that, 6 years. That was the one thing I think I got right from the beginning. We got a good name. Initially, I was thinking, Jeremy's English School or something. But a buddy of mine from New York, he's like, that's a terrible idea. Like, why would you do that? and how
about Jeremiah? Is that better? Jeremiah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but. And at the time, I wasn't really thinking about, the long term. If we did scale up the business, and then at that point, you can only hire people named Jeremy to work for your school. You can only sell your school to a Jeremy.
Is your name Jeremy? No good. Sorry, Doug.
Yeah.
And then, so then, let's like fast forward to like year 3 or so, or like, or what do you consider as like the next year or the turning point? After, I mean, that's a key thing that like, okay, you can't do it all. You want to grow, you can't do it all yourself. You need to find other people that are complementary to your strengths and weaknesses. What year and what was the next tipping point you would say for the next level, the next step, for your business?
We were kind of slowly growing, so that was a good thing. But I was wanting to, push the business a little further and grow a little faster. So I was trying to open, a second location. And I guess the initial 3 people that we started with, we all kind of had different ideas of where we wanted to take the company. The part-time Japanese woman, she joined us full-time, but she was happy just doing a small, three-man like operation. And I was like, no, I want to hire. And so then that brought in a whole new list of challenges, just hiring people and training. We had no experience doing that. If it's your school, obviously, you're going to put a lot of passion into it. But if it's not your school, you're going to be a, standard employee like I was on the JET program. You're just there to get your paycheck and move on.
Tell me what to do. I'll do the basic minimum, what time to come in, and everything. Yeah.
So I guess, a lot of after that, maybe year 3 and year 4, like we had a lot of staff changes, a lot of things we would try and they would fail. And so I started realizing that to really grow our company, I need to kind of I got to work on the image from the outside. We got to work on our brand, but also we got to go from the inside out, and we've got to really make our product like just phenomenal. And so kind of working from the inside out and the outside in, and kind of meet in the middle and try to get a well-balanced like business. So that's when we started, thinking, okay, we got to really start. Like initially we were teaching from, age 1 to 100. We'll take anybody that'll come through the doors. And I think our curriculum was kind of mediocre across the board. But then we thought, okay, let's start, focusing on one area at a time, and let's get a really solid curriculum down. I had a lot of, complaints with the texts that we'd been using and the style of lessons we were doing, and I knew that there were kind of better ways to do it, or I felt like I could do better. So.
At this point, about how many employees in your company at this point? So you went from 3 to...
Yeah, we started trying to do part-time teachers, and like we just had a lot of bad experiences. Like they kind of move on to the next better gig that they could find,
sure.
And get paid better, more permanence. So that was really frustrating to have teachers leave mid-contract. So we decided not to hire part-time, and then we started getting full-time teachers. But again, like we weren't being clear on what we were expecting, and so there was a lot of miscommunication. The full-time manager, the Japanese woman, she quit. I got married. My wife then became the replacement for her. So now we're at 5. We're 3 full-time teachers and 2 full-time managers. But getting here there's a lot of people that helped us out, and they came in for a year or 2 and moved on. But I think now that's kind of our next big goal is to finalize kind of our school manual and make sure it's all written in stone. You've got to be super clear about all the minor things and little details. You don't say it up front, then it just becomes a point of conflict or issue later on the road.
When I saw your table at ETJ in Fukuoka and everything, and the biggest thing that caught my eye was just like, okay, what's free curriculum, free downloads, and it was like, all right, how's this guy make money? Just because I come from like very much like an open source background. I believe in open source. I use open source software. I was a teacher in the U.S. in Los Angeles before, so I've always had to have like, okay, I gotta find I don't have any money, and had to be more creative and resourceful because I didn't have money for resources. I remember like meeting one of your tall guy. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, David.
David. And I think you were doing a presentation. You were out, and then he was just explaining stuff to me about, oh yeah, we've got the stuff here. You can print it out yourself for free, but and we've got like the curriculum, so anyone can use it, and you can use your own stuff. But to pay, you're paying for like the fact that you've organized and packaged everything, which I thought was like, oh, that's a great marketing, plan and everything. Tell me about the, making your resources, and then said like, oh, who makes the music? Oh, he makes the music, and everything. And then I met you, and just I think being an entrepreneur, you have to be, a creative person, and it definitely taps into my creative energy, since like just for myself, like, all right, I designed our logo, I make the worksheets, I designed our website. I wish I could pay, people. I don't know, not that point yet, but a lot of it's just like, okay, I got to do it. I got to do it myself because I don't have the money, and I'm learning new skills. I learned how to, do some basic coding. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, I go to YouTube, and it's like, okay, I put in this line, it seems to work. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't understand what HTML is exactly, but I'm using it, and everything.
Right.
So, tell me about like more of the, the creative aspects of your school and business.
No, I agree with a lot of that. And when you start a business grassroots, I don't think anybody has money to spend like wastefully. You can't just like, I want a new curriculum, I'm going to pay a graphic designer and an illustrator and a web designer. No, nobody has resources for this. And so I think the most successful entrepreneurs are those that are creative, resourceful, and have a willingness or a passion for learning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing to sum up, like, my life up until this point is I'm always trying to learn something new. Mm-hmm. Last year, my big goal, I learned how to build buildings, or at least how to build walls. I learned how to use 3D software. So I'm always just like, I'm learning cello. There's always something.
I saw your cello broke, like, or whatever. That's totally sucks.
But I'll get over it. So you got to keep learning. And, I've seen some advice floating around online, like, I will never do my own graphic design. Like, it's better to leave it to the pros. You can get people to do it for, cheaper now. You can have it outsourced from, other countries or whatever. And that's fine. But if you spend the time, it's going to be crap initially. And you're going to spend a lot of time. See, it's either time or money you're spending. But you got a lot of time if you don't got a lot of students. And so, even though all of my design, I've redone my website like 4 times. And you think, God, what a waste. But no, I'm learning, and I'm always improving on my previous websites. So it's the same with design or anything we do. And so that idea of doing it step by step, I try to apply that to everything. We had a really talented teacher. He's a really awesome illustrator, artist, and he just kept like hammering out tons of cool like pictures for our flashcards. Mm-hmm. And again, that's something I wasn't planning on doing, but there's this situation that kind of presented itself to me, and so I thought, okay, well, let's try to, organize this a little better and make it so that all of our teachers can use it and have a kind of solid curriculum. Going to like marketing strategies, everybody wants something for free. So if you say, I've got something for free, you're going to get a lot of attention. And then, like you said, everything is free, but for those people who want to save time and actually save money, it's cheaper to buy the books than it is to print. So if you're looking at the cost per page, depending on what, if you have a laser printer, inkjet, whatever, but for us, it's cheaper to use the books than it is for other schools. So that's our idea. It's working really well for us. If we can get other schools on board, if they want to help out, then we can
give out the website real quick for
Bingo Bongo Learning, and the website is bingobongokids.com.
bingobongokids.com.
Yes.
And then I know I asked before, like, to my website as I'm updating it, is it okay? Can I put a link to that? Because I like supporting other, fellow entrepreneurs. And then, just do like a quick review of it, like in a blog or something like that, and then have a link, and that hopefully, just kind of, I'm believing like networking and, connecting with people and helping. I've kind of noticed when I first started that, there was a certain sense of certain other English schools and businesses was like we're competition and everything, and like they don't really want to be helpful. And even if and I never look at it that way, especially since we're foreigners. I think we should be helping each other, because I think your success is my success. But also, like, I can't, let's say you and I were both in the exact same town and right next door to each other.
Sure.
I kind of feel like, well, I can't get every customer, meaning because I'm not selling the same thing. Whatever your curriculum is and your philosophy is not going to be the same as mine. And so I feel like, I always say it's like, hey, you know what? If we open ramen shops, yeah, we're kind of competitors, I guess, in a sense, but I'd like to think like my ramen is going to have a different flavor and taste than yours. And I don't,
No.
I don't want to appeal to every customer. I'm looking for a certain, customer or student that fits my philosophy. And I'm more than happy to like, Peppy Kids Club and all the other, all the other like big state and eikaiwas and other smaller eikaiwas in my school.
Free
Tell
advertising.
parents, well, yeah, I'm just kind of like, look, I'm not for everyone. Try our trial lessons, but here, go down the street and compare. And I want,
Sure.
and I want them to compare. So yeah, that's that's a big thing with me is just kind of like, oh, here, I recommend this other person,
No, that's a good way to think about it. I have kind of two points of view as well, and one is that I think the situation of English education in Japan is kind of bleak right now. The amount of time and money that the government spends,
yes,
and they're pushing younger and younger, but I think that there are a lot of flaws in the teaching style or the curriculum. So for me, I think if I can help in any way improve that, and do something for the good of English in Japan, then I feel like I'm rewarded with I guess that I don't need financial compensation. It's more just the reward of doing that. And another way I think of it is, yeah, I'm happy to help out other schools because I think while a lot of English schools, maybe people, they think this is what I can do in Japan. For me, there's a lot of things I want to do. I have a lot of hobbies, a lot of interests, and it's hard for me to just, settle down on one thing. So for me, if anything, starting an English school might just be a stepping stone for me to move on to my next project. I've got a lot of help along the way from other schools, and if I can, repay that favor to other people, then that's also a good thing. I think people who are, they want to do English school as their main thing, they'll benefit. But for me, by helping others, then that's going to help me move on to do the other things I want to do as well. So share the rewards.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's more than enough market, out there, especially in Japan. And like you said, I do feel it's kind of bleak. That's why I got to go, motivate, like, talk with my wife because she's an English teacher too. It's like I had to do my own thing because I was limited in being innovative within the public school. And the thing is, like, I know this works. I've done, it's just cultural. It's like, I've done, group center project learning in, at different age and levels. So the kids can do it. We just have to like create the environment and kind of leave the kids alone, in a certain sense, and be
take
more
some of the pressure
student-centered.
off. There's too much pressure, I think, on testing and not making mistakes. And I don't know. It's also, there's a big gap between the two languages, Japanese and English.
Yes.
I think there are ways to work around.
And I like what you said about I realized as an entrepreneur, like you kind of do you make resources or you create like new systems, or basically you're just solving problems out of necessity. Like the flashcard thing. But then out of that, I was like, hey, we just did this just to get through the day. But then you end up like out of luck, or it's just very organic. Like, this is a great product, or this is a great activity. Let's package it. Let's hopefully sell it. But I think it's got value. And out of that, out of solving that problem for yourself, you realize you have value with other problems. I want to segue into one of the big problems for everyone is marketing.
Yes.
And I think this taps into what you were saying before about you've got a lot of hobbies and a lot of interests, and I was very impressed with you've taken your own hobbies and interests and tweaked them and capitalized it into the business itself in helping, making, I guess, like music and resources. Obviously, music. You broke a cello and you're learning a cello at this later age in life, and you've got a drum set kit in the back and everything. And I've seen on your, Facebook page, like, you've been on, looks like local news, you talk about being written about in the paper. Talk more about, and maybe it's not even guerrilla marketing strategies. It's just, I think, outside of what people think of as paid advertising. Again, getting back to like, you need to be resourceful because, yeah, it's easy to like, okay, I'm just going to pay for an ad in a newspaper or local magazine or flyers. You know, we've all done those things. But yeah, just what have you done that's brought some attention to the school that was no cost, low cost that you could share?
Right. So on the topic of hobbies, yeah, I have a lot of hobbies, but even if I didn't, I think it's important to either find new hobbies or always, like I said before, you have to be learning new skills. That's an important part of running a business. The way I look at it is, I when I do something, I put a lot of time and energy into it. I really dedicate myself 100% for at least a year or two, and then I move on to the next hobby.
You get obsessed. You get obsessed, and then you burn out, right?
Yeah, or just not burn out, just like, okay, I got to learn something new.
You know, something new. So like what? Like what? Give me a couple of besides the cello and.
Yeah, I grew up just doing photography. The only thing I really, was passionate about before coming to Japan was photography and cycling. So if you look at photography, I thought, okay, I could, try to be a professional photographer. But I thought that's kind of a difficult line of work. Maybe I'm going to have to sacrifice my, creative interests for the interests of the customer. And I thought it just didn't sound like a job I want to do. And then I thought, okay, well, if I'm doing a business and I do that full time, then I'm going to, I'm not going to have time to do my photography. So I guess the obvious compromise is to just make photography a part of my job. And so, I've got nice cameras. So I take pictures of our students, take pictures of all of our classes and whatnot. So just that idea of if you've got a hobby or a skill and you can somehow tie it into your lessons, your business, any way you can, it's more rewarding, I think, as a teacher, as a human, just to be able to do the things you want to do while you're working.
Good. Yeah. I see.
So, and then when we talk about marketing, my biggest complaint with standard marketing strategies is the lack of permanence. So you spend a ton of money on a flyer that goes out for one day, or it goes in a free paper for a week, and just sometimes you get a hit or two, sometimes you don't. But for me, like, I don't know, I feel like I put the energy in and then it's gone. A month later I can never see that. I mean, we'll get new students and business grows as a result. So it's not necessarily a problem, but for me, I like producing things. I like making things. I like looking at my art and my creations. So I wanted to think of kind of marketing strategies that had more permanence. And that was the main thing that I think drove me to come up with a lot of my ideas or the things I did. So I guess the first thing I can say is it's important to have a really solid blog. I think obviously it's clear that you should have a good website, promote your business online. I think a lot of commerce, I don't know what percentage now, but you can say like 40 to 60% definitely is going to go through the internet, a Google search to find your business. So everyone's trying to get this great website, and you go into Google and you type in your city name and Eikaiwa and you get a list of schools. The customer, they have to kind of filter through and see which ones they like. But if you've got a good blog with free information, you've got some sort of, I guess, resource that your customer is looking for, then you're going to set up this situation where they're going to find your blog and your website, and that's the only thing they're going to find. So it's what I've been doing with our website is I've been trying to think about like kind of local, like what do our customers need? What do they want? And this is something that any school can do. But if you have baby classes, mom and baby classes are pretty popular. I thought, well, why don't we set up a blog that introduces all of the free activities that babies and moms can do in our area. You do a Google search and you're just kind of taking information that's out there and compiling it.
So yeah, centralizing it so you're a resource for that thing.
Yeah, maybe a mom comes along and she searches like, okay, I'm looking for something I can do with my baby, and they're like, okay, there's baby yoga at this place, or there's this kids park, and then there's a free book reading at this bookstore or at this English school. And so you're getting your events advertised, but that blog is going to be there forever. And writing a good blog, it takes a little bit of time, and you've got to do your research on how Google organizes their information. If you just write a blog and put it up, chances are you're not going to get hits. Mm-hmm. But if you take time to choose your keywords,
search engine optimization.
Right, and there's a lot of things that they're really basic and important, but I don't think that enough people have. It's counterintuitive to quality writing, but you've got to have one keyword, and it goes in the title, it goes in the subtitle, and then so this whole idea of by sharing something free, and you're going to give somebody a resource, and maybe say 1% or 5% of the people will then be interested in your product. And that's with our curriculum too. Like, we're doing it obviously because we want to just share our stuff, but like you said before, like, how do you get paid? Eventually, as it grows, there's money in numbers. So with the blog, that was, the more blogs we started writing, the more we realized like this is working. And so then, I kind of thought about what are popular, ways people try to get links to their website or to get more online visibility. And in the States, there was a big like infographic boom. Like, anywhere you look, there's like what kind of coffee do you drink, if based on this personality, or what are the different kinds of beer, and infographics. They're just a little bit of simple information, some pretty pictures, and they're really captivating. And so anytime I would read a news article or read these news sites, there's always infographics. I don't see it a lot now, but I thought, hey, why don't we try making an infographic for something relevant to our local food or local something. And my area is famous for Sanuki Udon, so I did a search and I couldn't find any Sanuki Udon infographics. We had a teacher who loved doing art, and he had some free time, so put two and two together. We made an infographic, and it was fun for me to make. And we the thing with that, it has permanence. We put it on our website, but we got very few hits, and infographics just aren't a thing in Japan. So it wasn't much extra effort to then take that infographic and print it as a big B2 size poster. For 600, and then we just went around to every udon shop in the prefecture and just like, hey, here's a free infographic. If you have a foreign customer who comes in, they're going to be able to order udon in English. They're going to learn what the different varieties are, and learn a little bit about Kagawa culture. And every shop was like, this is awesome, thank you. We put it on the wall. It's got our logo on it. And so that's something that we didn't really think through initially, but that I guess just always trying to think of new ways, creative ways that you can go out and get your brand, get your logo anywhere that your potential customers are going to see it.
I'll throw one back at you. I just made just basically giant QR code and then like logo, A3 size, laminated, put magnets on it. And then whenever basically I go like grocery shopping in town, or I go to a festival, or I put it on the back of my car and drive around locally, so people can scan and it goes to the website. They scan the QR code and goes to the website. But then, I was like, it's just really the time and effort to do it. I could go to a professional place and make a decal. I was like, you know what? It gets the job done. I'm just laminating it. And another thing is, I made my own like T-shirts, and wear with my logo and stuff. I just wear it all the time. My wife hates it. It makes it, my fashion choices are easy. It's either red or blue, sweatshirt with our logo. And then if people ask, then I have a QR code. If I don't have flyers in my car, then I'll have a QR code and digital copies on my phone, and then just like, oh, here, scan my phone. Now, were you like, I saw some clips there. You were on like local TV shows or news. Can you share about how that happened? I'm sure some people would to know about how do you get on Japanese TV?
Yeah. So an important thing with these marketing ideas is that they have permanence, and so that one thing, even if it doesn't hit right away, give it a month, give it a year, and it's going to lead to some new opportunity. So I found out that, well, actually, I should back up a little bit. I like photography. My school's accountant, he's also a pilot. He flies a Cessna, and all of his clients, he gives them a free flight. And I was like, I'm totally not interested in that. But he's like, hey, you want to go for a flight? And I was like, nah, I get really emotional. But, some of our other staff, like, we want to go. So I went and I took my camera and said, well, maybe get some cool pictures out of it. And I took this special lens. It's a tilt shift lens, and it gives you that kind of georama, like everything looks like a miniature toy.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, I'll try that. That'd be a good situation. And it was really cool. I showed the pilot, and he's like, these are really cool. Everybody else that comes up for a flight, like they take really, blurry or just boring photos, but these are really cool. So I was like, well, hey, this could be a fun project. If you provide the flights, I'll take a bunch of pictures, and maybe we can have a photo exhibition. And again, this is something that I'll just brand with my school's logo and somehow, tie them together. But like 8 flights later, 4,000 pictures later, I have enough for a book. So I was like, you know what?
Wow.
I'm gonna publish a book. Have I ever published a book? No. Am I gonna learn how to do it? Yes. And so I learned how to, design the book. I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't design it in CMYK, and so the printing company, they're like, you've got to redo everything. And I was like, but anyway, I learned
just time and learning. That's it. I mean, yeah. So yeah, you learn the hard way, but you learn.
But again, that's well received. I think anything you do to give back to your community, to share your community, to promote your community, like that, newspapers and local media are going to eat that up. And if you can get one article, that's going to lead to something new. People saw this, newspaper articles about the book, people in Tokyo, and they're like, hey, we want to, have you on this TV show and you can talk about Udon. And I was like, all right, I'll write an Udon song. And so I wrote this stupid Udon song and made a stupid video.
just out of necessity, right? Just like, this opportunity came up, and yeah, you wrote this Udon song. And
I wrote it. And then the producers are like, no, we don't want that song. And so
it is stupid. You're right.
But
we wanted better.
The thing is I made this song, I put it on YouTube, and it's there. And so it's got permanence. It didn't hit, that producer didn't want it, but now I've got just a ton of different opportunities that have come up from the Udon song, and putting it all together as a package. Like, okay, so there's this foreigner living in this local area. He's written a book about the area. He made a poster to help foreigners access the area. Now he's got a song about, the local food, and it all just snowballs into this giant momentum for your brand. And I've got this reputation now. I'm like the foreigner in Kagawa that speaks the local dialect, and I love Sanuki udon, but I'm gonna run with it. And like,
you're the udon guy.
I got a call over winter break. From a TV station in Umeda in Osaka, and they're like, hey, we got a show about udon and soba next week. Can you come be on it? I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't really turn down anything. Like, and it turns out it's this guy, Mr. Sama-san. I have no idea who he is, but he's
he's like a big comedian. He's like, I don't know. I want to say is like the Johnny Carson. Do you really know? You know who Johnny Carson is?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like a variety show host guy.
And so I got, I'm gonna be there on Monday. I get to go and check that out. So
awesome, that's great.
Yeah, and it's just like, if you print a flyer in a free paper, you're gonna probably get a return on your investment. You're probably gonna grow your school. But for me, I'm not having fun doing that, and it doesn't have permanence. So for me, like anything that I can do that's going to, I guess, give back to my community, to give a free product to a potential customer, and something to get, publicity in the newspaper, it's gonna have a lot more, I think, cost effectiveness, if you want to think of it that way. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think what you're touching on a really important thing here is basically being open, and going with your passions, unless your passion is like, English eikaiwa, but I'm sure people have other passions. How to connect that with your business, or just connect it with your business. Just slap your business logo on it. I mean, if that's the most minimum you can do. Because at the end, even if you don't get a return on a customer out of that, I feel like you haven't lost anything, because you did something you enjoyed. Like you
exactly.
But I think that kind of energy from doing something that you enjoy, that shines through. I love cooking. So I organize events. I just want to cook a bunch of food that I want to eat and share that taste, that international taste. But we write that cost off under marketing.
Exactly.
because it is marketing. It's it's a party, it's an event, for our school international. Yeah, I think that would be a big takeaway I'm getting from you for Kaiwa owners is find out what your other packages are. Yes, we want to make money, but when it comes to a marketing thing, run with what you already enjoy.
Yeah,
And
what you enjoy, and also think about what you can do for your community, what you can
Mhm.
do for your customers. It's kind of an opposite way of thinking about it, but if you give something to your customers, it just somehow it helps your visibility and it helps your brand. It'll come back, I think, tenfold.
That's good. That's good. We're at the beginning here, the first week, ending the first week or the second week here of 2019.
Yes.
When I talk to you again a year from now, what do you want to have done when 2020, Tokyo 2020, that big, that big number that's coming? So it's going to be 2020. What are your goals for this year that you're hoping to accomplish for 20 by 2020? What are you looking forward to?
Good question. 2018 was just insane. I basically set so many goals and just kept, pushing and pushing, pushing. And, to avoid reaching burnout, I think
Mm-hmm.
this year I'm gonna kind of scale it back a little bit. We've got 2 books for Bingo Bongo. We're gonna make our 3rd book, which is pretty advanced. It's gonna cover future tense and past tense. But I'm gonna continue getting all of our resources online for free. We're starting a new YouTube channel. I'm gonna be a YouTuber and see
Nice.
how that works out. Try and do some
You've already
English.
got all these. It seems like it's leading to that. You've already made all this. You're creative in all these other ways. That it's like that's a easily. I was gonna ask you. It's like you don't have a YouTube channel yet, or you haven't posted anything yet. Yeah. So that's awesome.
It's in the works. We'll see
Yeah,
how that
it'll happen.
goes. But no, I think just if you push too fast, too hard, you might break things. So I'm gonna just we spent a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
We built 2 new schools last year, published 2 new books. So that basically deplenished all of
I hear you.
our resources. So this year we're gonna just sit back and promote and just have fun. Yeah.
One last thing before we end is like, what advice to people who are thinking about starting their own Kaiwa in Japan, like right now? Like if they're what would be some advice you would give them right now if they were like starting out?
Well, if they're thinking about starting, they should
Yeah.
just stop thinking and just start doing. Like it's that's the one thing,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can always have a million ideas and this would be great to do it, but you got to just take that first step and dig in. And, things are going to change after that. So probably if you over plan or over calculate, you're probably going to, it's going to take you longer to actually get up and running. But yeah, just do it. And then if just starting out, obviously like what we've been talking about today, try to do as much fun stuff. Keep your I guess job light. Keep the workload
Mm-hmm.
light by incorporating the things you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that makes it fun for your students to see as well. Like if you got a teacher who's doing all these cool things that they're enjoying and it's something to talk about in your lessons, you can use those. I mean, I write songs and make resources, so I can actually use those with our students. So just have fun. There's so much. Like when I started, I didn't really know about all the, I guess, networking tools there are. I don't know if they existed back then, but now I know there are a lot of groups on Facebook, a lot of podcasts to help English, school owners out. So yeah, just look at what other people are doing, and on top of that, try to incorporate new ideas, do things that are kind of unique to you and the product that you're going to offer. But definitely have fun and try to do some cool creative marketing ideas. I mean, the flyer thing is important. You probably have to do it once in a while, but the sooner you can get away from that, the better.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, let's see here. Please join him. He's going to be presenting at the School Owners Special Interest Group mini conference, our second annual mini conference in Osaka on January 20th. January
Yes,
20th.
yes. I went there last year. It was the first. This is the second annual. So last year it was so much good information. So I'm excited to go back and help present and provide any insight I can to help new schools out.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. Any last words or last things you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like I said, all of our resources. We've got free flashcards, free worksheets, free curriculum cards. We just created a new phonics system that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of gets away from the typical what is it CVC system.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun for our students. 80 pages of free worksheets, and they're really basic, really simple. So if you're interested, definitely go to bingobongokids.com and you can download everything for free.
I will
So
be downloading it. I will be downloading it. And then when I, put this up on YouTube, I'll put all the links and everything for your company information and all that information in the in the information section and everything.
thank you so
So
much.
thank you so much. Have a great what is today? Have a great Wednesday. It's a big busy. It's the busiest day for me during the week.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it is
Yeah.
for you.
Getting back in the swing of things.